What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay Gleez, host of the Gaming with Gleez YouTube channel, and today we're going to go over Quan Chi. Now, before we do that, be sure to subscribe here to the DashFight's YouTube channel for more character guides, and you can also check out their website for all things FGC. So Quan Chi does a great job when it comes to zoning, and his special moves are key to his survival in this game, and he wants to stay full screen if possible. He doesn't do very well up close, and we're going to go over why that is, and we're going to do that by going over his buttons. So we're going to start with his pokes. So his down 1 is a 9-frame startup, and notice on block it's actually -10. And most characters in the game have a 7-frame startup down 1, some have a 6. So notice that his is way slower than the rest of the cast. It's also much more negative on block at -10, and because of that, certain characters can actually punish him when they block his down 1. Johnny Cage being a prime example. He has a mid that's faster, he's able to get a punish. So utilizing just a down 1 up close against Johnny Cage is very risky at times, because if he blocks it, you're done, you're cooked. Now, what he does have are options. So his down 3, though that's even slower at 11 frames, it is safe on block. It also grants you better hit advantage. So down 3 has a hit advantage of 14, down 1 has a hit advantage of 12. And you might think, well, what does it matter? Well, it does matter because you want to be able to jail into your different strings. Off of the down 1, the only thing he can jail into really is a stand 1, which is 8 frames, which is your fastest punisher. Not a bad string to go into. We'll go over the string and some, advantages and disadvantages in a minute, but we also want to be able to get into our stand 2 string, and we can only do that off of our down 3 because that's 14 frames hit advantage versus the down 1 at 12, right? So in most instances, you're not going to be able to jail into your stand 2, and a lot of times you're going to get poked out. So if you try to go with your stand 2, they're just going to mash down 1. Unless you get them to respect that you're going to jail into your stand 1, and then they hold block out of respect. So in certain instances, if you're able to utilize your down 3, I would suggest using that as a counter poke, because again, it is safe, it is a little bit slower, so you have to keep that in mind. In certain instances, you're going to have to use your down 1. But down 3, I find to be much more advantageous on hit, and you're able to get some things cooking and rolling a little bit more consistently off of that. His down 4 is really good. It's got a lot of range. I like it. I really like his down 4. It's also -6, I believe, on block. Yeah, -6 on block. So his stand 1 is 8 frames, and 1, 2, 2. Pretty good move. It pushes the opponent out rather far. Also on hit, so we'll take a look at it on hit. Bang, a lot of space, creates a lot of space. You'll notice that Quan Chi is built around creating that space. And his combo enders, which we'll go over too, it pushes the opponent away and you're able to set things up in zone. His 1-3, really good, it launches. It's an overhead. I notice also that a lot of times whiffing that first hit from about this range really throws people off, as you're able to land the overhead consistently from that range. A lot of people don't block it, and it hits a lot of space. So you can see you can hit like somewhat up close. If we're further away, it still hits. If they try to like jump at times, it hits them. It's a very good move to whiff from this range and then bam, have the overhead come down on people. I like it. Also keep in mind that that can be up blocked, but there are ways around that. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then his forward 2, which is a skeleton that comes out. It is a mid. Forward 2-1 has some really good range. Notice that you're able to, again, hit the opponent all the way out full screen on hit. It is negative, so you don't want to do this up close, -13. So if you do this here, you're going to get cooked by a lot of characters. So this is really a range move. I've gotten it as low as -9 from full range. So right there, we're at -9. So from absolute max range, -9 is what you're getting here. Not too bad. So Quan's 2 starter is 12 frames, and you have the 4-4 at the end, so 2-1, 4-4, and the last 2 hits are overheads, and then we have 2-1-3, and the last hit's a low. So it does have like a cooked-in mix right off of that string. We also have his back 3-4-2, and that leads to launches. So we can actually launch the opponent here. Next we have the back 3-4-2, and that does lead to a launch. But we'll get to combos in a minute. Ooh, that's juicy though. And then we also have the stand 3. So this is a high, but it does launch. It's a great anti-air as well, and this also leads to combos as it's jump cancelable. And you might think, well, what the heck is jump cancelable? So when you hit this move, if you hold up, you are able to jump and go into combo. And it cancels just like a special cancel, except it's jumping. Now, the cool thing about it is that if it doesn't hit, you can just hold up and what's called option select. So it won't have you jump unless it hits. So if you miss it, you're not going to jump into the air randomly, but if you just hold up, every time it hits, you are going to jump. So I suggest every time you use it, you hold up and forward, so you're able to get that jump cancel if it does hit, and if not, you're just on the ground chilling. Now, what some people are going to do is, as you utilize this, notice again, it is a high, they're going to walk up and crouch as you're utilizing this. And they're going to try to crouch without blocking and then punish you on recovery. That's where the back 3 really comes into play. So if you're utilizing this a lot and someone's coming up and they're crouching without blocking, you can just go into this, right? And that's going to clip them every single time. And they also have the forward 4-4. It's a double high. I don't utilize this as far as like on wake up or just randomly while I'm on the ground. I use that as a combo ender, both in conjunction with that and this move that we talked about earlier, and that sends the opponent full screen. The advantage and disadvantage to both. So this one right here is a combo ender. It does a little bit more damage. The startup is a little bit longer by a few frames, so it's more difficult to link at the end of the combo, but it also is less advantageous. So to set up your portal, which we'll get the special moves next, it's a little bit more difficult, not impossible, but the frames are a little bit tighter. Versus the forward 4-4, it's a little bit faster on startup, so it's easier to link at the end of the combos. It sends your opponent full screen. It takes a little bit less damage off of your opponent by about 1 or 2 points, but it is more advantageous. So in most cases, I utilize the forward 4-4, but if you're more comfortable ending combos in forward 2-1, be my guest. The final button we'll talk about here is this stand 4, and this is something that is really unique to the character of Quan Chi and really assists him in his zoning. And this is a high. It actually will go over their head also if they're crouch blocking. So the person has to literally be standing or walking backward. If they're walking forward, some characters, their walk speed is fast enough to actually get away from this. So it works best in frame traps, which you can do off of your zoning. And we'll talk about frame traps in a little bit. But this is also special cancelable. So you can cancel specials and do all kinds of wild and crazy things with this if it does hit. And if you have a Kameo that can help assist this, you can actually get like full screen combos. Woo, man. So the last button we're going to talk about here before we move on to the special moves is a stand 4. And this is really unique. So from full range, the stand 4 actually will just kick them in the back of the head. And it works really well as far as the frame traps go off of your zoning. Doesn't work very well just throwing it out in neutral. It's a button that has a lot of recovery. It's very negative on block. So if we were to put this here, so it's minus 21. And also if I were to have my opponent crouch, the whole recovery is 45 frames, right? It's really negative. So you don't want to just throw this out, but you do want to utilize it in frame traps off of the zoning. And the reason why it is because when it hits with certain Kameos, you do get a lot off of it. Now you can also use it to punish. So if I were to have my opponent throw a projectile, right, I can punish that. I can punish it from pretty far away, depending on the recovery. That gets punished from almost full screen. Right, certain characters you gotta be a little bit closer depending on the projectile. Now, if you have a Kameo that can launch and do different things off of different buttons, because this move is special cancelable, you can actually get like a full combo going into a setup, right? That's really, really good, really strong. As we get into our special moves, again, remember that Quan Chi is a zoner. So he has the straight projectile, which you can do in the air as well. You can also instant air it if you're good enough to do that, and it takes a little bit of practice. I'm not great at it, but I am able to do it on occasion. We also have the bone cage, which you can place anywhere. And what it does is it locks your opponent when you use meter inside of a cage. And they can't move or anything. They can only try to jump out, but if they jump out, remember, we got buttons, anti-airs for days. We also have the skulls that come from the air, and these are overheads. And you can place them basically anywhere on the screen, and they work really well for stopping your opponent from advancing forward. The startup is a little bit slow on them, so it's about 34 frames of startup, but they are good. I do like them, especially in conjunction with Sector's missile. We have the down back 3, which is the portal, which if I hold the 3 button, I can actually move along with me. And what this does is it powers up your projectiles. So notice that the projectiles are now purple. We get some mids off of the back forward 1. Also, the air projectile becomes basically like a homing missile. It follows the opponent, so if they were to jump up in the air, it actually tracks up with them and hits them. Also, the down back 1 projectiles come down at a different angle. And if you were to meter burn these moves, they also like launch and have different properties. And you're able to get some, decent combos and push your opponent again out to full screen. Quan Chi also has his back forward 4 sky drop. This is your armor move. So if you're in a wake up situation and you want your opponent off of you, this is what you're going to use. But keep in mind, it's very slow. So a lot of times you're going to get hit out of it depending on the character that you're facing. And it also doesn't always track perfectly. So sometimes you'll utilize it and you'll like drop behind the opponent and you completely miss them, which happens. So keep that in mind. It's not like super consistent, but it does have its uses, especially when you see your opponent jump in the air or do something reckless. It's a very good way to punish them for doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. And then we have down back 4, which is the low tentacle. And you can actually meter burn this and get a launch off of it, but it's very expensive. It costs 2 bars. So if you notice down at the bottom left, it costs 2 bars to utilize this. The damage off of combos with this is pretty good. I don't know if it's worth 2 bars. If it's going to kill your opponent, I suggest using it. But in most cases, I tend to shy away from that. The part that you've all been waiting for, the combos. So we're going to start with Quan Chi's 1-3 starter, and remember that this is his fastest combo punisher. And also notice that at the end of most of these combos, we're able to push our opponent full screen and then get a nice advantageous situation to get our portal out. This is what the combo looks like. Portal set up, and we're ready to zone. Now with this combo off of the low, you can end it with the from the fog, or you can do this. Dash up, 4-4. Right, and get that space. So it's all dependent upon the character that you're fighting against, so keep that in mind. And here is an anti-air combo, and this also can be linked the same way if you hit the stand 3 on the ground. And again, hitting them full screen, and we're in a good spot. All right, so let's get into something that's a little more sector dependent. And this combo, you have to utilize the up missile as soon as you go into your 2-1. And this is great for punishing moves that are unsafe with a 12-frame starter. And this is my go-to in most instances if I do have a sector bar. And this is what it looks like. All right, we're able to push our opponent again, full screen. Really great combo. You can also double up on this in the corner if you do have the bars, and we'll take a look at that right now. All right, so there we go. 405 damage, really good. We can actually get more damage off of this if we utilize 2 bars, and it looks like this. Ooh, so 433. Is it worth the 2 bars? If it's gonna kill, it is. It definitely is. So if you ever find yourself in the corner with Quan Chi and you're able to get a punish with your fastest combo starter, the 1-2, you can actually go into the sector up punch, teleport punch, and get yourself out of the corner on a side switch. And it looks like this. So that puts you in a really good spot. You're very advantageous at hit advantage 39, and you're good to go. Now, if you do link the stand 4 from a closer range, you're able to get this, which is pretty good. Now, if you do it from full range, it would look like this, just right into sky drop. Not bad for full screen combos. So So we do have some mixed potential here off of the 2-1 string with Quan Chi. It is unsafe if you utilize the low. It's not something that I particularly do a lot. I try to stay away from it because it is unsafe and you'll die for it, and it's very resource dependent. So if you burn the meter on the down back 4, it takes 2 bars. So it's not the greatest thing, but it is something here that I wanted you to see that you do have access to. So notice the last 2 hits are overhead. So you can mix at any point and get some combos going. So not too bad. Again, it is risky, but it's there for you. This works really well also, I found, with Frost, because she gets that low coming in. Get some good mix off of that freeze. So, not bad, but it is risky. It is risky and it costs a lot of resources, but it's there. Quan Chi also has an overhead, which does link into the Sector Teleport Punch. And the combo looks like that. So let's talk about linking your Fatal Blow into combo. And anytime that you have a juggle and land your forward 4, you can just cancel your forward 4 into your Fatal Blow. Even when there's like crazy gravity, it still links. And we're going to take a look at that, an example right here where the gravity is really high because they've been juggled quite a bit, and you would think that it wouldn't link, but it does. Notice the low bounce, but it still hits. And this does okay damage. I'll try to mash out. This isn't the best way to link your Fatal Blow, as it does scale quite a bit because it's so many hits. But you can see that even in those situations, you can still link your Fatal Blow off of the forward 4 off a juggle, which is really good. You can do that in any of the combos that we went over. So here's another example that's a bit more practical. And we're able to link it every time. We'll mash out a little bit, see what damage you can get this to. Probably around 400 damage, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, about 400. Yep, 404. Not too shabby, not too shabby. So if you remember earlier in the video, I talked about frame traps with your zoning and utilizing the stand 4, and that's what we're going to talk about here. So notice that the regular back forward 1, you are plus 11 from full screen. Now, if you were to have your portal up, notice I'm now plus 19. And if you remember, this is 12 frames. So 12 frame startup, that is going to frame trap with this from this distance. Right, so we're able to frame trap that. They can't move. If they try to walk forward or do anything, hit a button, they're going to get clipped by that. And from this range, this is also basically safe. Right, so in a lot of instances, you're going to be able to frame trap your opponent into something like this and launch for a combo if they try to move or do anything. That's like the biggest thing that I find myself catching people with, is the zoning along with the frame traps of stand 4. There are also other frame traps that I utilize. So this skull, the big skull, right, when that hits plus 32, right, easy frame trap, easy frame trap. You could also utilize the slow one and like dash up on it and then hit them. And I find that that works a little bit better because as I'm closing down space, they're actually thinking that I'm gonna go in, so they're gonna hit a button immediately or do something as soon as the skull is blocked. Or they do something like jump. And if they jump, remember we have our stand 3 to hit them out of the air. So I'll throw this and dash up, and then they jump and I just hit them out of the air. Boom, boom, go in the combo. Right, so that's the crux of basically like what I utilize as far as with Sector and Quan Chi. Another thing that I like to utilize from about this range is the forward and Kameo, maybe a little bit closer. So more about this range. And that actually hits your opponent and pushes them back quite a bit. And if you look at Sector, it comes back really quickly. So that's the forward and Kameo. So if I do have full bars, I'll throw this out and just try to push my opponent away at times when they try to come in and cut down space. And I think that that works really well to keep your opponent at bay. I really like it. Another thing that I like to do with Sector is throw out this missile and then go in with that and make sure that I stay safe, right? So I'll do like something like this, boom, and then they can't really punish me. If they do go to punish me, they get hit by the missile, and a lot of times I'm able to combo them. So really good. It allows you to kind of control space and shut your opponent down, or a lot of times once I start to implement that and they see that the rocket goes up, say I'm like at this range and they just like hold block. So I'm able to backdash and I can get that space and then get back to my zoning. right? So in a lot of instances, the up missile can be very advantageous to create space or to move in on your opponent. Either way, it really puts you in a good situation. I also like the up missile to aid in my zoning. So sometimes I'll put it right on their head and I'll throw these projectiles in front of them. So if they try to move forward or do anything, you know, the missile's going right on their head where they are. If they're trying to move forward, they're not able to because they're going to get hit by my air projectile. Or I'll just, you know, aid my zoning in this way, you know, a missile going. I got things like this coming. Boom, frame trap, bop. Right? Like, these are the kind of things that you're going to be utilizing with Quan Chi. And again, it takes a specific type of player that really likes zoning and can understand the zoning and spacing game with this character, or just with fighting games in general. I don't think that he's a character that a lot of people are going to take to. They really like to go in and like mix your opponent up. He's a much more strategic based character that everything you do really has to be something that is implemented in a way that's meaningful and purposeful. If not, you're going to wind up here and you're going to die. You're going to die if you're playing Quan Chi up close like this. Trust me. I've been there. So I'm going to briefly talk about Serena as well. And I think she does some pretty good things. She's really good at draining your opponent's meter. And with the way that the characters get knocked down, right? So for instance, we do something like this, right? And we're able to lock them down right in a spot, especially if they're blocking, and we're able to get that meter down quite effectively. What she also can do is implement the double blades from the stand forward. Not quite from full screen, right? So not from here, but you can frame trap from, you know, about 3/4 screen, which is still pretty good. Right? So you got that stuff going for it. I think she's a pretty good cameo for the character because of that. She also has this move, which is pretty good on Wake Up. It's rather quick compared to the other reversals that different cameos have. And because Quan Chi's armored sky drop kind of sucks, this is actually a pretty good tool to utilize. So I like it for that as well. And, you know, you can always add more zoning, right? More space control, why not? This actually from full screen too, if you were to land it, you can sky drop it. All right, so that's not too bad. So all in all, I think Quan Chi is a really fun character. I'm having a lot of fun utilizing him. He has his weaknesses, he has his strengths. You gotta like zoning to be able to utilize him, and I think that there's a lot of people out there that might enjoy that. So I want to thank you for checking out this tutorial. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of it. And again, you can check out my videos at Gaming with Gleez on YouTube. You can also check out all things shown in this video in a text format and version at the link down in the description below on the DashFight website. If you like this video, please leave a like and comment below with your thoughts. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching. It's Jay Gleez signing out, and continue to game strong.